Please subscribe.
The speedo readout flicks past 170 miles per hour. The basso V8 snarl from in the engine stronger and more earnest than any other time in recent memory. We're shooting on 7,000 revolutions per minute, close to the highest point of 6th rigging, when I accomplish something seldom done in a 500-drive sports vehicle nowadays: simultaneously lift off the gas, plunge the gas pedal, and pull out a calfskin secured move switch. There's a fleeting respite while a progression of connections and links mix gears into place. At that point, as the switch clunks home, the grip pedal is discharged, and the throttles snap all the way open. The V8 thunders again and the 2020 Aston Martin Vantage AMR proceeds with its distraught, epic rush down the superhighway. The Vantage AMR is definitely not an untimely idea. Aston, a vehicle speedily made to take advantage of the developing interest for top-of-the-line sports autos with manual transmissions. However, Aston Martin supervisor Andy Palmer no uncertainty viewed the 2017 encouraging furor around the restricted release manual just Porsche 911R with distinct fascination. In truth, Aston Martin's history with the idea predates Porsche's. The Vantage V12 Vantage S manual was propelled in 2016, and Palmer demanded from the start the new Vantage be furnished with the manual transmission. The Vantage AMR utilizes a similar back-mounted Graziani 7-speed dogleg transmission as the V12 Vantage S, directly down to the proportions. Be that as it may, it's no eliminated and glue designing position. Not exclusively is the transmission sitting in an all-new stage, encompassed by all-new suspension and driveline equipment, it's likewise the principal manual at any point snared to the adaptable Daimler-constructed 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 that powers the Vantage. Recalibrating the powertrain, the executives programming so the German-made motor would get along with the Italian-made transmission done in-house by Aston Martin yet closed down by Daimler Designs in Germany took a very long time of work. Contrasted and the normal Vantage, the Vantage AMR is an unpretentiously however considerably extraordinary vehicle. How about we turn over with the motor? Power is unaltered 503 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute. However, the general torque yield has been dialed again from a pinnacle of 505 pounds-feet to 460 pounds-feet, from 2,000 revolutions per minute to 5,000 revolutions per minute, and restricted to 295 pounds-feet in first and second apparatuses. That is to keep the Graziani's internals unblemished, says Aston's central designer Matt Becker, who includes that a transmission with more grounded segments and a higher torque rating would likewise have gauged more. All things considered, Aston claims the AMR is just 0.4 of a second more slow to 60 miles per hour than the customary Vantage with its quick-moving 8-speed auto, taking 3.9 seconds for the dash, and has a somewhat higher top speed, 200 miles per hour versus 195 miles per hour in spite of the option of a gas pedal and extra inside parts and wiring. The AMR weighs 220 pounds, not exactly a standard Vantage, and around 60% of that weight decrease is down to the lighter manual transmission. Another torque tube between the motor and the transmission weighs 8.8 pounds less, and the AMR's transmission cooling framework is 25 pounds lighter. Standard 20-inch fashioned compound Hagel's earthenware brakes with 16.1-inch rotors in advance and 14.1-inch units at the back help trim a further 53 pounds. Notwithstanding diminishing the general weight, the lighter transmission implies less weight over the back hub, thus an unobtrusive move in the front to raise weight balance from an ideal 50 hours 50 minutes to 51 hours 49 minutes. To redress, the Vantage AMR's back spring rate has been marginally modified, and the back enemy of move bar somewhat hardened. Programming controlling both the revolved stuns and the electronic power guiding has additionally been changed. As in all cutting-edge stints, there are 3 powertrain modes: Sport, Sport Plus, and Track, yet with the apparatus moving all down to you, they just changed the motor mapping and fumes note. Game and Track modes convey straight throttle reaction, the previous for smooth driving around town, the last for extreme accuracy when pushing hard. Game Plus's Hotshot mode, a non-direct guide that conveys increasingly dire push the minute you contact the quickening agent. There are coordinating suspension modes, as well, each conveying progressively firmer damping rates. Game and Sport Plus are on the cash for most streets, enriching the Vantage AMR with an essential ride that is marginally progressively consistent and calmer than that of a Porsche 911. Having been created from the beginning in view of a manual transmission, there's a lot of room in the Vantage's footwell for an additional pedal. Becker's Group invested a ton of energy finessing pedal loads and arrangement, benchmarking their endeavors against the manual Porsche 911 GTS, and you just need a few miles in the Vantage AMR to welcome it was time all around spent. The short toss grasp utilizes a double-cylinder race chamber initially created by AP Racing for Formula One vehicles to diminish exertion, and the brake case chamber has been overhauled to convey less forceful tip-in, to help with smooth heel and toe downshifts. Everything works perfectly, offering brilliant feel and criticism. In case you're not sure coordinating fires up yourself, the Vantage AMR will do it for you by means of AMShift. This driver-selectable framework utilizes grasp, gear position and prop shaft sensors, together with the motor administration program, to emulate the method of heel and toe downshifts. AMShift additionally offers the ability of max speed upshifts. Simply keep your correct foot covered as you plunge the grip and the PC stops the motor firing up to obliteration. That doesn't mean the Vantage AMR is anything but difficult to drive as it so happens, be that as it may. In spite of the fact that the pedals are a delight to move over, the Graziani transmission doesn't have the sleek rifle jolt activity of the Porsche 911 7-speed as you work it through the apparatuses. The toss is longer, clunkier, clumsier, and the door not too characterized. The shifter weighting favors the focal 4/5 apparatus plane, yet even so you must be mindful so as not to opening into 6th rigging on upshifts from 3rd to 4th. On downshifts from 3rd to 2nd it's unreasonably simple to get 4th rigging. It requires some investment and practice to get the vibe for the Graziani's peculiarities, to realize when to utilize your palm or your fingertips to manage the switch into the correct opening. It's a troublesome and baffling experience, every off-base opening an awful language, particularly when you first attempt to investigate the Vantage AMR's exhibition envelope and the street begins hurrying towards you. This is no point in force the trigger supercar, you need to comprehend that less scurry implies more speed before you can begin messing around with it. And afterward, in case you're on your game, it conveys. The case is all around adjusted, its cut-off points effectively receptive, and the input from the guiding and brakes rich and fulfilling. In any case, depend on it, the Vantage AMR is more work, more exertion to drive, and unquestionably more slow than the standard Vantage. Notwithstanding its costly presentation equipment, the fashioned wheels, the enormous brakes, this is an Aston Martin best delighted in at 7/10, where you have the opportunity to change gears with care and pondering and can focus on driving as easily and definitely as could be expected under the circumstances. But then, in spite of or possibly due to the imperfect transmission, it's a strangely engaging thing. It resembles driving a pristine great vehicle, its flaw includes you snared to the Graziani. The 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 under the Vantage AMR's hood resembles an old companion who's found out new deceives. It feels additional alarm and responsive, you're increasingly mindful of its solid punch out of the corners, and quality with which it destroys right to redline. It's a deafeningly easy motor, characterful and drawing in. The snap pop from the fumes on the overwhelm in track mode by one way or another more bona fide than it is in programmed transmission vehicles. There's a trace of the greatly frantic rage-based Vantages from the 1990s, with their gigantically amazing twin supercharged V8 S, in the way the Vantage AMR goes not far off. Evaluated from $179,995. The Vantage AMR will be constrained to 200 vehicles, accessible and 5 architect particulars. one of which praises the 60th commemoration of the Aston Martin DBR1's success in the 1959 24 Hours of Le Mans. Named Vantage 59, it will be applied to the last 59 vehicles of the generation run and highlights a sterling green and lime outside paint conspire with dark night cowhide and Alcantara and lime features inside. The Vantage 59 spec is valued at $204,995 in the US, and every one of the 59 vehicles have been sold. The manual transmission will be accessible as an alternative and a customary Vantage lineup from the main quarter of 1 year from now. The Vantage AMR recommends it could be, in spite of its shortcomings, an inquisitively characterful interpretation of the passage-level Aston Martin. Stick with the program in the event that you need a quicker, object-free Vantage. However, it's the better supercar.